U.S. officials today expect to receive the body of swimmer Fran Crippen, who died during a race in the United Arab Emirates.
Imagine feeling the heat of the sun beating down on your skin as you dive into shimmering water. Your muscles cut through the waves with ease, gliding through the ocean. You feel the water pushing against you, the familiar blanket of salt, wind, and waves. But then, with each stroke, the burning sun saps your energy as the bath-warm water offers no respite. Your muscles begin to falter, but you push ahead, refusing to surrender. The haze thickens until you can barely see the buoys guiding your path. You call for water to quench your parched throat, but receive only silence in return. This is the true story of professional swimmer Fran Crippen. The sun blazed high in the sky over the shimmering blue waters of Fujairah, an eastern emirate of the United Arab Emirates. It was October 23, 2010, and an elite field of open-water swimmers from around the world had gathered to compete in the last race of the FINA 10K Marathon Swimming World Cup Series. Among them was 26-year-old American Fran Crippen, a rising star who had won the previous leg of the circuit just a week earlier. As Fran dove into the 86-degree Fahrenheit sea that morning, he had no way of knowing these would be the last strokes of his life. From the moment he hit the water, something felt off. The sweltering air temperature, combined with the bath-like water, created oppressive swimming conditions. But Fran was known for his mental toughness and pushed forward. He was not about to let a little heat stop him from chasing his dream of Olympic glory.
I have this great opportunity ahead of me, and I'm looking to seize the moment.
About 2 hours into the race, Fran's body started to falter. He told his coach he was thirsty and having trouble seeing the buoys through his fogged goggles. His coach urged him to stop if he needed to. Fran was not a quitter. He pressed on, even as his strokes grew increasingly labored. Meanwhile, fellow American swimmer Alex Meyer noticed that Fran was no longer ahead of him, as expected. He scoured the course but saw no sign of his friend. An uneasy feeling washed over Alex as the remaining swimmers crossed the finish line one by one, yet Fran still failed to appear. Alarmed, Alex returned to the water to search for his missing teammate. Other swimmers soon joined the desperate hunt, scanning the now eerily empty sea. After 30 agonizing minutes, a safety diver finally spotted Fran's limp body just 100 yards from shore, drifting lifelessly beneath the very last turn buoy. They quickly retrieved Fran's body and rushed him to a nearby hospital, but it was too late. The unthinkable had happened. An elite athlete in peak physical condition had perished during a swimming competition. His vibrant life cut short at just 26 years old. The question on everyone's minds was, what happened to Fran Crippen? How could an elite athlete at the top of his swimming game die in water? We are going to go through every avenue to see how this could happen, said his sister Maddie in an interview. There should not be a drowning at a swimming event, she added. He was at the top of his game. Fran Crippen was born to swim in the water that would claim his life. Growing up in the Philadelphia suburbs, Fran had always been drawn to the water. He started swimming competitively at age 6, following in the footsteps of his 3 older sisters. The Crippens were a bona fide swimming family, with Fran's oldest sister Maddie making the 2000 Olympic team. In the pool, Fran excelled from a young age. He earned a spot on the varsity squad as a freshman at Germantown Academy and helped lead the team to 4 consecutive league titles. After graduation in 2002, Fran headed to the University of Virginia on a swimming scholarship. Over the next 4 years, he completely dominated in the pool, claiming 11 All-American honors and twice being named the Atlantic Coast Conference Swimmer of the Year. After college, Fran set his sights on international competition. He earned medals at the Pan American Games, World Championships, and Pan Pacific Championships in the grueling 10K open water event. With his boyish charm, infectious smile, and fierce competitiveness, Fran became a leader on the U.S. national team and a rising star in his sport. Making the 2012 Olympic team was his ultimate dream.
Hi, I'm Fran Crippen, 6-time U.S. national champion.
While Fran's swimming accomplishments were impressive, what most people remembered about him was his warm, engaging personality. Teammates spoke of his mentorship and sportsmanship. Younger swimmers looked up to Fran as a role model, drawn to his charisma and encouragement. Coaches valued the passion he brought to the pool each day, always striving to be his best. In many ways, Fran Crippen embodied everything right about sports. he cherished the bonds forged through rigorous training and striving for shared goals. The only thing Fran loved more than being in the water himself was sharing his passion with others. After just missing the 2008 Olympic team, Fran returned home and began coaching for his high school team, even as he continued training for a comeback. Helping to mentor the next generation of swimmers brought him great joy. Yet, Fran also recognized the sport's dangers after years of competing in grueling open water events across the globe. In letters to race organizers, he stressed the need for adequate safety personnel on the course. He knew firsthand how quickly even experienced swimmers could become disoriented or slip beneath the surface unnoticed. Fran spoke out for all athletes who deserved a secure, monitored environment when pushing themselves to the limits physically. So, what happened to Fran Crippen? He was young, strong, experienced, and poised to make the Olympic open water swim team. As news of Fran's death sent shockwaves through the swimming community, controversy immediately swirled around his cause of death. One theory was that Crippen drank too much fluid, upsetting his electrolyte balance and causing a fatal sodium imbalance. But this was disputed by experts, given athletes' acclimation to consuming fluids while training and racing. Others speculated that Crippen felt pressure not to quit the race despite feeling ill, worrying it could jeopardize his Olympic hopes. While this highlighted issues with swimming culture, this too was disputed, since, by all accounts, Fran felt strong at the beginning of the race. As details continued to emerge, reports of weather conditions pointed strong blame on race personnel. The sweltering conditions that day, with air temperatures nearing 100 degrees Fahrenheit and water above 86 degrees Fahrenheit, placed extreme strain on athletes. While Crippen told his coach he was struggling to see and growing increasingly thirsty, he pressed on. Not only were both water and air temperatures dangerously high, but lack of personnel on the course delayed recognition of Crippen's distress. Athletes bore responsibility for monitoring themselves and competitors. Christine Jennings, a fellow American swimmer who took part in the event, also had complications and wasn't happy with the conditions that day. Jennings vomited several times in the water, became dizzy and had to veer off course, and feared she was going to pass out. She signaled for help, but no one from the event came to her aid. She had to struggle to finish the race. "It was a disaster," Jennings told the Washington Post. "I'm floating on my back for several minutes thinking, why isn't anybody checking on me?" Investigations by both USA Swimming and FINA pointed to insufficient precautions by race organizers as contributing factors. Established in 1908, the International Swimming Federation is an international management organization for swimming events. At the time, FINA had no upper limit for water temperatures in open water events. Neither air temperature nor combined air-water metrics were considered prior to starting races either. The water temperature hovered nearly 6 degrees above the FINA recommended limit, while the air temperature approached 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Yet, rather than erring on the side of caution, organizers started the race anyway, lacking both temperature protocols and the proper personnel on hand to monitor athletes in distress. During this same race that killed Fran Crippen, 3 other swimmers were hospitalized. FINA President Dr. Julio Maglione said it was the first death in any FINA event. A report released by FINA following Crippen's death called for an update in open water swimming safety regulations. The report concluded that Crippen may have died of a cardiac abnormality and uncontrolled exercise-induced asthma in unfavorable race environmental conditions. But some felt this shifted blame away from the dangerous conditions and lack of safeguards that day. Would Fran have experienced heart or lung issues in the water had he not been swimming in terrible conditions? Where was the safety team that didn't realize he was missing until his body was finally discovered 2 hours after the race? Tragically, Fran's earlier calls for greater precautions went unheeded by those in power, costing him his life. In an instant, the Crippens had lost their beloved son and brother. Fran's light extinguished senselessly due to others' negligence. In their deep sorrow, the Crippens found themselves tasked with ensuring no other family would have to endure the same preventable loss. They established the Fran Crippen Elevation Foundation, aimed at improving athlete safety, and awarded grants to swimmers who embodied Fran's spirit. While nothing could fill the void left by Fran's absence, the Crippens drew some solace knowing his legacy would live on through those he inspired. At Germantown Academy, his hometown pool was renamed in Fran's honor, a permanent tribute to his passion for the sport. Memorial swims were held at pools and beaches around the globe, bringing those who loved Fran together in his element. Yet, when Maddie accepted Fran's posthumous honor as Open Water Swimmer of the Year, At the annual Team USA Awards months later, the smile on her face failed to mask the family's lingering grief and anger over the needless loss of their brother. There was still work to be done. In the decades since Fran's passing, significant strides have been made to improve safety at both elite and amateur open water swimming events. Mandatory water temperature limits were enacted along with required safety personnel on the course. Fran's courage to speak out against dangerous conditions spurred these critical reforms. His own words and values now better protect the athletes who follow in his path. Even as Fran's absence on the pool deck remains deeply felt, for Fran Crippen was more than a skilled swimmer chasing his Olympic dreams. He was a selfless teammate, inspirational leader, and devoted coach, a man of true character and integrity. A decade later, swimmers still float flowers across quiet waters worldwide in Fran's honor, each October 23rd, the anniversary of the day the sport lost one of its brightest lights. The blossoms drift peacefully across the surface as a solemn tribute, before beginning to sink beneath the waves. The petals swirl ever downward into the deep blue below, leaving only ripples above. And the world is left to wonder what heights a soul like Fran Crippen's may have reached had he only been given the chance.